What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all on analysisplayground.com and on YouTube. We're going to talk about my Boston Celtics and the entire NBA on the rundown. This is a series that you guys love, and we're going to talk about every single team in the NBA today. The Celtics are 18-4. They won their last five. They're 9-1. Tatum is having fun out there, throwing up his sign, having a blast, scoring, shredding up the offense, shredding up the defense, slicing and dicing, wheeling and dealing, is having fun out there celebrating. They look like they left where they was just at, which was the NBA Finals, the best team in the Eastern Conference. They was the best team in the second half of the season, post trade deadline, and they basically proved that they was right, that they was the best team. They had to get rid of Ime. They got rid of Ime. Joe Mazzulla has been coach of the year to me. They haven't played the defense that they needed to play, but their offense has been so unstoppable that they don't have to play defense as hard. But the best part about it is they getting Robert Williams back this month. He's just scrimmaged, and that's good because they needed him to protect the rim and give them an athletic guy that can cover space and rebound the basketball very well. They need help on the boards too, and getting a guy that we already had integrated in the system. He's not a new piece. He's just getting back healthy and getting back to where we need him to be. He don't have to rush. He can take his time because we still have Big Net. We still have Al Horford. Then we still have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon. And we also have Peyton Pritchard. We also have one of the deepest rosters in the entire NBA. And that don't even include that. I didn't even mention everybody on this roster. The whole team is playing well. They have a plus 8.6 point differential. No team can score as well as the Celtics, and we do it as a team. Tatum has been having an MVP season, scoring 30 plus points every single game. It seemed like he just had a game where he had 49. It seemed like he just had 40 the other game. It seemed like he getting 30 every game. Jaylen Brown is stopping and popping. He's getting his mid-range going. He's getting his three-point shot going. Marcus Smart still defending at an elite level, and we doing all of this without being fully healthy. And even when we ain't fully healthy, we still just destroying teams, even with our backups. And even when they play big minutes, you have guys like Grant Williams that's been stepping up. And even though we haven't had our whole roster together yet, we have been the best team in the NBA for almost a month now. That's how great we have been for the last 3 to 4 weeks. And we also have only lost one game within the last 15. So we're 9-1 in our last 10 games. In our last 15 games, we're 14-1. So it just show you how great and how dominant this Celtics team has been. And I had to wear my uniform with my Celtics and my Nike, combine greatness with greatness with greatness, and we roll them all up in one, and we have more wins to come for the Boston Celtics. And hopefully we can go from the second best team in the NBA, which was in the Eastern Conference last year, to the number one team in the entire NBA, which was last year Miami Heat and Phoenix Suns. Hopefully we can be the best team in the entire NBA this year instead of being the second best in the conference like we was last year. The Milwaukee Bucks got off to a great start last time I did a rundown. They have ran down themselves. They have rested some players, took some time off with Giannis. He had some minor injuries. They didn't want it to become severe, so they gave him minor breaks that helped us catch up to their record because we lost to the Cleveland early. And then the Bucks just started, getting beat by some mediocre teams and some good teams in there like the Atlanta Hawks, and they just couldn't stay, offensively talented enough to beat those teams that can beat them by getting buckets and going small and having quick guards and fast centers that can have match their size. So the Bucks ended up just getting outbeat because they just don't have Middleton. They'd be better if they had Middleton. It'd be more of an even matchup against those teams. It'd give them more size. It give them more length. It give them more athleticism. It give them more scoring. It give them more shooting from the perimeter, and it give them more balance. And I feel like that's the thing that they're missing. Obviously, when you're missing an all-star, it happens to be like that. But they have played better than they have played last year. Last year, they got off to more of a rocky start, had more injuries and they couldn't play as well as they have this year. This year they're playing better and they're playing better than they did last year with the same type of injuries. But you just don't want to get too injured because this team is an older team and you don't want that to catch up to you in the end when the Lakers matter in the end of the day and then you play in a tough matchup like they had to play the Celtics in the second round and now you're getting put out in the second round again instead of getting to the conference finals or the NBA finals, which would be nothing less than short of a disappointment for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been great. Donovan Mitchell having a career year. He was going to get traded to New York, but Cleveland stepped in. They didn't have to give up Darius Garland. They didn't have to give up Evan Mobley. They didn't have to give up Jared Allen. They didn't have to give up Karis LeVert. And it's just been a blessing in disguise because this team is one of the deepest teams in the entire league. Dean Wade has been great as a spot-up scorer. Kevin Love is still on this roster. He's been great. This team is one of the deepest teams. They have the offensive weapons. They have the defensive capabilities. If they try harder and play better, this team is the first season together. They're young. They're all below 28 years old as their nucleus and their core, and they just play well together. They have spacing. They have shooting. They have size. They have cutters. They have penetrators. They have ball handlers. They have everything they need to be a contender, and that's why they are one. And they have been one of the most consistent teams. They just have to get their defense up with their offense, and then we can see how really good they really are. But they can score that basketball, and Donovan Mitchell, he really has been blazing off to a great start. He really has been able to score any way he wants to, how he wants to, and he's really been stroking it from three more better than he ever has. And Darius Garland has had a better season than he had last year. Last year he was an all-star. To me, he's been getting off to a better start this year than he did last year. I know he started off the season injured, but he's been scorching. And this team has really, really been tough to beat once they get a full head of steam. The Indiana Pacers 12-9. This is a surprise team. Nobody really expected the Pacers to be good this year. Everybody expected the Pacers to be bad, and they have been great so far. They have scored the ball well. They have passed the ball well. They have defended solidly. Tyrese Halliburton is having an all-star caliber season. You also have Miles Turner. They thought about trading him. He's been good. Buddy Hield has been solid to me. You also have great role players that have really intertwined and really stitched up the holes in this roster. I really love what I have seen about them. They really have held their head high, competed, and really fought throughout the entire season. I love what they have done this year. Philadelphia has been injury riddled. Joel Embiid has missed time. James Harden still hasn't came back. Tyrese Maxey still hasn't came back. But they still held the fort down very well. They have defended well. They have scored well. They slowed the game down, made it ugly, made it a little, grit and grindy. But that's what they had to do. You have to work with what your personnel has. Doc River has always been a master of that, has always done that well, and he has done it well in Philly. He shows that he has been one of the best team coaches that can get the best out of his role players. Tobias has played better. He usually plays better when the stars are missing, so he can have the ball in his hands more and do more because of it. And he has been well in that role. And we just have to see how they really are as a contender. Can they be better than what we have thought? Well, with Maxey and Harden both on the court with Embiid, they haven't played as well with all three of them on the court. They have signs where they can really find it all and on all clicking on all cylinders, and they have signs where they can't. So I really want to know what this team can do and what this team is about. And I just want to see them healthy to see if they're really better than the Cavaliers or if they're better than the teams like the Nets or they're better than the Raptors or they're in the same group. The Atlanta Hawks, they have fallen off a little bit. Their offense has become a little predictable. Their defense has never been great. It's always been decent. They have found themselves as a middling team, but I'd rather be outside the play-in tournament than be inside the play-in tournament. And the Hawks was in the play-in tournament last year, and they was able to get it done. And now they're finding themselves outside of the play-in tournament, and I love the fact that they have done that. That's very good. So 12-10, not the greatest record, not the greatest start, but it's only the beginning of the season. This is only DeJounte Murray and Trae Young and this core first season together. It's going to take some time to make adjustments. It's going to take some time to fill each other out. It's going to take some time to heal some of these mistakes. and, smoothing out the path for them. And they still have to get John Collins playing at a higher level. Clint Capella has been great. They bench still need a couple more pieces, in my personal opinion, for them to be taken as a serious contender. But that's all hoopla if they can figure out how to make all these things work. Trae Young needs to shoot the ball better. He hasn't shot the ball better from the field, hasn't shot the ball well from three. Neither has DeJounte Murray, and they find themselves sixth in the East, looking inside out the play-in tournament, which has been great. Toronto Raptors have never made the game easy on themselves. They have always been a hard-nosed team that really goes out there and compete. They rebound, they facilitate, they play together, they play as a team. They have multiple all-star caliber players with great role players around them, and it's just good to see them winning. I love seeing this Raptor team. They fight, they claw for everything they got, everything they have. They have a lot of will, they have a lot of heart, and they have a coach that squeezes the orange all out, all the juice out of the orange. And that's something that's impressive, just because this team is supposed to be a playoff team talent wise, but they just don't have the star power. Van Fleet never been the most efficient guy. Pascal has never been the most efficient and dominant guy. They have no one guy that can get them a bucket and dominate a game, but they do it as a collective, and they do it as a team. They do it as a team that fears nobody and goes at everybody's head. And I love the fact that they play like that. They're a fearless team, just like a Raptor is. And I love seeing what they have done as a team and as a unit. And they deserve their credit as a team that has continued to play well, as a collective. The Brooklyn Nets have found themselves in the playoff spot. They was in this spot 7th or 8th last year, so it's not a surprise that they're in this year. They added Royce O'Neal. Ben Simmons did not play last year. He's been healthier than he was last year. They finally find themselves a one game above 500. They won their last 3 games in a row. It's important for them to continue to build good habits. This team was going to self-combust last year. Kyrie said he was down. KD said he was down. Ben Simmons actually was able to play a couple great games, about 2 weeks straight of great games together. That's something that's positive. It's just about building positivity with this team. They had a lot of negativity, firing their coach, team guys wanting out, their best players not liking each other, not getting along, the GM not getting along with KD and them either. And now they're finally past that. They jumping, they having fun, they're smiling, they laughing, they competing, they're playing hard. KD looks like the old KD again. Kyrie finally not a distraction for about a week now. Ben Simmons just need to get back healthy, get them rebounds, get them buckets in the paint, play a lot more center, embrace that role, and then ride it out and see if this team can get within the top six. This team has a lot of scoring. Seth Curry also was injured in the first rundown that I made. He's been healthier. He's been a great addition to this team. Joe Harris has been back. He's giving them a floor spacer, a guy that can move without the ball and knock down shots. And this team just look a lot more stronger than they did as a team and as a unit than they did when the season started. They was all over the place. Now they realizing they're in the box and they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to run besides try to get out the hole together. And that's the best way for a team to win. If once we know this is what we got, this is what we have, and we all in this together, that's how you play. That's how the Raptors play. That's how the Nets need to play if they want to get higher up this ladder of the NBA Eastern Conference and NBA records in general, and climb themselves out of a hole, which they have done, but they need to continue doing it, going in the right direction. They don't want to move backwards. Like Kyrie said, they want to move forward. They got out of that hole being below 500 by a couple games, and now they're above about 500. Now they need to stay above 500 for the rest of the season if they want to be considered a legitimate championship contender. They had the same problem last year where they got in the hole and they had to play extremely great offensive basketball to get themselves out. They don't want to find themselves in that same hole this year that they had to climb out of last year. Even though they started the season the same way, they got out of it earlier. Now it's time for them to continue to stay out of it. The Washington Wizards fall to the Nets last night, which knocked them out of a playoff spot. But this is just a collective of guys that really can, have high confident guys. They like to score. They like to take a bunch of jump shots, a lot of threes, a lot of floaters, and they just play well together. This is a team that's going to be mediocre. They don't score well. They don't defend well, but they just play hard and they just want to, compete. And that's something that they take pride in. That's something that they do well. and they're going to be in the playing conversation all season. The Knicks are the same. They're a team that don't shoot the ball very well, don't score the ball very well, don't defend very well. This is a middle of the pack team that can be a play-in team, but I doubt it because it's only the top 10, and I just don't see the Knicks being one of those teams. But as long as they put themselves in the conversation and stay healthy, the Knicks fan to be happy for where they have, become in the NBA, which is just another team in the league that's in a big city. The Miami Heat, I love what I've seen out of them so far. They was able to go 5-5 without Jimmy Butler. He's supposed to be coming back. I'm happy for that. This team they got Duncan Robinson back. They got Tyler Hero back. Bam is finally playing like the Bam that plays in the playoffs. They need playoff Jimmy earlier this season. This team needs to go on a big win streak to get themselves in the upper echelon. I still believe that the Heat should be where Indiana's at. They was number one in the NBA last year. It's hard to win without Jimmy Butler, who has been their best player for about 4 to 5 seasons now. And they need him bad right now because they have to play the Celtics again on Friday, and that's just going to be another loss, it seems like, or another tough one. And then they're going to have to climb themselves out of a hole, too, which they're capable of because they're only 3 games. If they lose that game, they're only 3 games out from being 500. And then they just have to go on a 5-game win streak to be 2 games above, which is very possible once Jimmy Butler come back. The Chicago Bulls find themselves in a tough situation. They need to make a move. Lonzo Ball has really hurt this team. Not being able to play, not being able to be healthy, really has caused this team a lot of hurt just because they paid him a lot of money and he's a big part of what they wanted to do, and he's one of their best defenders, and he can't play 1 game and he might be out for the entire season. That really hurted them because they don't have nobody that can replace him. I've been saying they should start Caruso, and they should probably start Dragic or one of those guys, so Zach LaVine and DeMar don't have to do as much. They become a lot more predictable. They're gonna give it to Vooch in the post, or they're gonna give it to LaVine for a three or a mid range or a layup, or they're gonna give it to DeMar DeRozan for a tough two. They work too hard for their buckets, and I think that that's what makes them easier to beat. Once their offense is flowing and clicking, everybody touching the ball, everybody's cutting and moving, they become a lot tougher. But they don't usually play like that. They usually give it the ball to somebody in isolation and let them make a tough shot, and that becomes easier to defend as the game go on. Plus, you get tired and worn out from doing it, and then you just become a team that looks like a team that lost where they had succeeded last year, and that's having a big three that can really gel together and really play well together with great role players that complement them. Instead, they just look like a team that's decent, and that's just not where you want to be. You want to be great or elite, and they're not great or elite. They're just good or average, and that's on offense and on defense. The Charlotte Hornets, they have been bad. No LaMelo Ball. When you lose your best player and Gordon Hayward has been injured again, it's just not too much hope for this team. The best part, they can get a lottery pick. They need another one to go with LaMelo Ball because he's so young. And this team has a lot of mixed talent, and they have no Miles Bridges. So they missing Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, and Miles Bridges. And that's just a recipe for disaster. And that's why their record hasn't been that good. Plus, when you don't score the ball well and you don't defend well, it's hard to win basketball games. The Orlando Magic is just young. They just letting their team grow. Franz has been good. Paulo has been good. Bol has been good. Um, they have a lot of young talent that you're just trying to see what you have, what you want to keep, building around who's worth the money, who's not worth the money. Plus, they didn't have Jonathan Isaac back yet. He's still a guy that is a high impact player. He's one of their building blocks, and you haven't seen him play at all this year either. The problem is they're gonna have a bunch of talent that don't really mesh well, and we're starting to see that now. They need better shooting, better spacing, better screen setters, better cutters, and they need better defenders. They have a lot of offensive pieces, but they don't all defend well and don't all fit well defensively, and that's something they got to iron out as the season continue to go. Who they really want to build around, who they really want to keep, who can defend, who can't defend, who fits, who doesn't fit, who can score, who doesn't score well, and who plays well as a unit on the starters, who plays well with the starters, who plays well with the defense. Just basically figuring out rotations so they can have their future more set on and more clear within the next 2 years since they got Paulo and Franz, and they have their center Mohamed Bamba and Bol Bol as their future pieces, and they also have Jonathan Isaac. But they all can't play together. Somebody got to go. Somebody got to get traded, and we're gonna have to see who it's gonna be because they can't pay all of them. Their rookie contract eventually going to kick in, and they're going to have to start consolidating some of these guys. Detroit Pistons, they have been great. Outside of no Cade Cunningham, once Cade went down, that's their best player, and Jaden Ivey went down, and they have nothing else to look forward to besides developing Marvin Bagley and Jalen Duren and Sadiq Bey. Other than that, development is the key for the Pistons. Just trying to get those guys healthy, get those guys some reps, let them play through their mistakes on defense and offense, and let them grow. It's terrible that their best players have all been injured besides Sadiq Bey that they're trying to grow with. Unfortunately for them, it gives them a terrible record. But I watched them play. They played well. They compete well. They just couldn't stay healthy this year. This is a big step backwards, and this is not the direction you want to see them go in. But it happens. You just gotta hope that you can get a top pick to add alongside Ivy and Cade and Sadiq, and hopefully it's another big or small forward that you can put right alongside those guys, or a power forward if Bagley doesn't work out. Phoenix Suns are the number one team in the West. They're 15-6. They won seven. They won six in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They have been great. Devin Booker has finally excelled in that role again. This looked like the bubble Suns where Devin Booker had to go off every single game. DeAndre Ayton rebounded well. He hit hook shots. He dunked the ball. He hits in his mid range. He's been a 20-10 guy the last 2 weeks. That's what you want to see out of a number one pick. That was a center, a guy that can post and score in multiple ways, and he's been able to do that. Mikal Bridges has developed well, hitting his mid-range, hitting his three. Campaign CP doing his thing, getting to the basket, hitting his floaters, hitting his threes. The bench has played well. This team has really been relentless. I love what I have seen out of them defensively. Devin Booker just went for 50 the other night, which was yesterday, and they showing that they can compete with any team, even with Chris Paul, even without him. That's something that they have been for the last 4 years. Now they're trying to be another team that can win a championship, and they have the team, they have the talent. They just have to get it done in the playoffs, and that's the only thing that really matters. And that really counts if you're a Phoenix Suns fan or if you're watching this team. Can they get it done? We know what they can do in a regular season, which they have proved the last 3 seasons. Now we just have to see what they can do in the playoffs. The Denver Nuggets is much of the same. We just wanted to see how Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. looked. They look great. They look like they haven't, fell off that far from where they was years ago. Jokic looked dominant. Aaron Gordon looks like the perfect complementary player. They won their last 4. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They have a +2.3 and point differential. So they look good. They defending a lot better. I like that they switched up their starting lineup to adjust to the modern day NBA game, to give them more size and more athleticism, more speed, more quickness, more length around Jokic. And they just have to defend a little bit better. They want to take their game to another level. The Pelicans have had an easier schedule, but they have took advantage of it. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They have a +6.1 point differential. They're 13-8. I really love what I have seen from the Pelicans. Zion has looked great, has put himself in the MVP conversation. He at least should be in the top 10 in MVP conversation with the ability to move up. He has really defended better rotations, better steal opportunities with deflections, better block opportunities. Jonas has looked good. CJ hasn't looked as good, but Herb Jones has stepped up. Alvarado has stepped up. And even Brandon Ingram has stepped up and developed well. They're all playing better. They're all defending better. And this is how the Pelicans should be. You want to build upon what you have done before. They made the playoffs last year without Zion. They should be astronomically a lot better this year, and they have been. They went from being a play-in team to being, and that's a big difference, and that's why they have improved a lot. They have really scored the ball better, and it's a lot easier when you got a guy that can play make and get to the basket at will and collapse the defense and Zion Williamson, and it just made everybody's job easier. The Memphis Grizzlies have been great. They have defended better. They're getting a lot healthier. They still don't have no Desmond Bane, but they have a lot more spacing. They're deeper than they was last year. Ja Morant is still playing at an MVP level when he's healthy. And they have really been solid all around. I like their wings. I like their center and forward rotations, and I like the fact that they really have pieces at every position and depth at every position, and that's really just shows you how strong and how much heart this team plays with. Shows you how difficult it is to beat this team, and they also, really is one of the more well-rounded youthful teams. They don't have a lot of veterans, but they have a lot of youth, and they really have been getting the best out of getting the best of both worlds on this roster, and they have a lot of upside as the season continues to go on. The Clippers, no Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard, but they still been getting the job done. It's kind of hard to rate this team. Is they a contender? Is they not? They had an easy schedule so far, and they've been able to coast by a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams that have either have injury problems or they haven't been healthy or they just wasn't that good and they took advantage of beating them. The good teams beat the bad teams and the ugly teams, but can you beat the great and elite? That's the only question I have for the Clippers. The Kings have been one of the surprise teams. They 7-3 in their last 10, a 2.7 point differential. They're 11-9. They really have scored the ball well. De'Aaron Fox has played better. He can stop and start and go, really breaking down the defense. Domantas Sabonis has facilitated well, has finished around the basket well, has also been a force inside that paint. Harrison Barnes and Keegan and those guys, Malik Monk has spaced the floor decently for them. And this team has really just been firing on all cylinders offensively. The Jazz have fallen off. They have fallen from grace. They became a lot more predictable, a lot more gullible, in a team that's really one dimensional. They're going to pass the ball to find an open guy because they don't really have a lot of guys that can really score one on one efficiently and get a shot in dominant isolation plays. They just have a bunch of guys that know their game, know their roles, and really excel in them. And then once you cover them and defend them the right way and don't switch a lot and stay in front of them, you can just, guard them a lot easier. They need somebody that can break down the defense and get their own bucket. Once they get that, they'll be a lot tougher to guard. Or once their guys that get buckets make their shots more efficiently, maybe they can go back up this list of the power rankings, or I should say the standings of the Western Conference and the NBA regular season record, if they can get back to the top of the West or the top of the NBA like they was before in October. The Golden State Warriors have defended better. They have scored better. Clay looks better. Steph looks like an MVP candidate. Draymond looks better. Kevon Looney looks good. Andrew Wiggins look good. Their bench has played better. Jordan Poole has played better. This team is looking on the up. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They finally got to 500. Now they have to get above 500. It's kind of crazy that we're talking about a team that just won the title trying to get above 500, but it's reality now. It shows you that they got a lot worse. They brought a lot of the same talent back, but they got worse because they lost a lot of good talent and didn't replace it with better talent. If anything, they got a lot of young talent that's still developing, not ready to compete and win right now. So that gave them a couple losses early in the season, but they just need their starters to play better and up their play so they can carry the load of their young players' lack of knowledge, lack of IQ, and lack of good playing basketball. And that's something that they're going to have to do. The Minnesota Timberwolves, 11-11, they have been in the play-in tournament style. Rudy Gobert has defended well. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't defended well. D'Angelo Russell hasn't played well. Anthony Edwards hasn't took that superstar leap. He hasn't even been at an all-star level. That's been the biggest disappointment this season. You wanted Towns to take a defensive step forward in training camp and in preseason. It hasn't happened in either or the regular season. Anthony Edwards hasn't took that all-star or superstar leap like a lot of people thought that he would. Even defensively, he hasn't took a huge leap forward there either. And D'Angelo Russell took a huge step backwards. He isn't Brooklyn D'Angelo Russell anymore, and it seems like they're going to have to replace him sooner than later if they want to turn this season around. They need a better defender and a better scorer at that point guard position and a better playmaker if they want to take this thing serious, and they got to also defend better if they want to make the playoffs and not be a play-in team like they have been the last couple years. Remember, last year's they haven't been a playoff team. Last year they was a play-in team. That's around what they were supposed to be last year, and they ended up becoming that. This year they were supposed to be better than that because gave up a bunch of role players for Rudy Gobert, and he's the best defensive player in the league, and they haven't made a significant improvement. Rudy Gobert is a top five defense amongst himself. He hasn't been that in Minnesota so far, and that's a step backwards for him and his entire organization. He was supposed to be one of the biggest acquisitions this summer and hasn't really lived up to the hype from himself. And for as a team, they have been one of the most disappointing teams this year. Portland Trail Blazers finally fall out the playoff spot. No Damian Lillard, their best player, has missed. They had an easy schedule but couldn't win those games that they should have. But you can't win with in the Western Conference unless you have elite level talent because it's just too deep now. It's too many good teams. It's too many good teams. It's just too many good teams. And they just became a good team too with the lack of CJ and Anthony being young and still developing, and the rest of the team is too. They kind of on a rebuild slash retool, and if you're doing that, you're just going to be a play-in team or a playoff team, and if that's the case, you're going to be at the bottom of the West or in the middle. So I think they'd be a play-in team with a chance to make it. Dallas, they're 10-10. They still need one more defensive player on the wing and one more shooter if they're going to be taken more serious. Their shooters are too streaky, too inconsistent. Their bigs are not dominant forces in the paint, and Luka is doing everything he can offensively to carry this team. It's just he can't do it by himself, and that's what this team has been. Luka or bust. Luka does everything, and if he can do it, he can. If he can't, he can't. And so far, he hasn't been able to do it enough to get them in a playoff spot as they're out of the play-in tournament and out of the playoff spot. The Oklahoma City Thunder find themselves out of the play-in too. Shea Gilgeous has been amazing, getting to the basket, hitting the mid-range, getting to the free throw line, but the rest of the team hasn't been that great. No Chet Holmgren. He was supposed to be a big difference maker, but he hasn't been able to play. They've been playing a mediocre lineup and bad defensive players and bad offensive spacing around Shea, and that has reflected in losses. No great offense, no great defense means you're not going to be a great team, and that's what happened to them. The Lakers are on their way up. Anthony Davis is healthier. LeBron is healthier. They playing great basketball now, but the role players around them have to step it up. Lonnie Walker has to step it up. Russell has to step it up, and their bench has to step it up. They're healthier than they ever been. They've been winning more games than they ever have. Maybe they can get themselves in the play-in tournament, take Portland spot. You never really know what's going to happen, but they have defended well. They just have to find another way of scoring besides shooting threes because they just don't have the personnel to do it. The Spurs are a rebuilding team. All you want to do is have them build good habits, play the right way, defend the right way, and play within each other and develop, and that's all they can do. And the Rockets, they took a lot of steps forward. Offensively, they look better. They share the ball better. They look like an organized team now. They defending better. Şengün looks better. Jalen, he looks better. Jabari has played better the last 2 weeks than he ever had. Tari Eason looks good, and a lot of the other guys look solid. So the team looks better. They playing better, and that's just a positive sign for the Rockets. Other than that, that's the end of the rundown. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be coming back with the instant analysis on the game tonight. Other than that, keep liking the videos, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Like on Facebook, my Facebook be in the description. Also check out my podcast, analysisplayground.com. That will also be in the description. Like and share this video. Liking and sharing helps this channel grow and reach more people. The more you like and share, the more this channel can become bigger. And this channel has been flying up. I'm trying to get to 6,000 by January. It's December 1st. We almost at 5,000. The goal is to get to 6,000 by January 1st. So help me any way you can by liking, sharing, or commenting, or even by just telling your friends to subscribe that you know, or even just liking on Facebook and sharing so they can see on your Facebook. This is a great channel. This is great confidence that y'all been giving me. Y'all been showing love with the likes. Y'all been showing love in the comment section. Continue to do that. The more love and more positivity, the better. Hope you guys enjoyed the rundown. This is a podcast on all 30 teams in the NBA, and I broke down all of them to the best of my ability. Hope you guys really loved it. Celtics have done what they're supposed to do. They have become the number one team in the NBA, the most dominant team in the NBA, and hopefully they can be champions at the end of the season. Will be in Boston, hopefully, and we'll see if they can get it done. But this is a positive start, and the fact that we're getting Robert Williams back, that helps us defensively. The biggest hole in our game right now is defense, and once we fix our defense, and once we get Robert Williams back, a huge piece to our team, then we can really start seeing how good we really are. And we really won't know that until he comes back this month. And then we can really start gauging how good the Celtics team is in January, February, and then it'd be around playoff time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of y'all day. And hopefully I can see you guys later tonight.